You're listening to The Heart of You on Paris Underground Radio.
Hello and welcome back to The Heart of You. My name is Annette Deleu and you are listening to episode number 19. Today we are here with Calista. She is the author of the original bestseller, The Female Archangels, the first book to solely explore who the female archangels are, and the author of the award-winning book, Unicorn Rising. She also just finished the Female Archangel Oracle deck, which is now available for pre-order. Calista, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, I'm so glad to be here, Annette. Thank you for inviting me onto your amazing show.
I'm so happy to have you here. So I love this subject of the female archangels because so much attention goes to the male archangels like Archangel Michael or Archangel Raphael. And everyone is always talking about how much they can help us. And when I first spoke to you about the female archangels, just that little spark of light ignited in my heart space. And I was like, yes, this is it. So if you don't mind, let's just dive right in. Can you give us a little idea of who the female archangels are and how exactly you work with them?
These beautiful beings have been around for eons. For as long as we have known there to be angels, the female angelics have been there. Because if we look at an angel, it has two main expressions: an expression that is masculine, an expression that's feminine. Even though angels don't have any physical gender, they have an expression that it can be very much related to the beings that they're working with. So because when they work with humanity, they express themselves as either feminine energy or masculine or a blend of both. And for so long, just like you said, there's been this awareness that the angels are more masculine, as they've been depicted in images, paintings, in books. But the angelics, the female angelics, have always been there, and collectively they're called the Archeiai, which means the origin, and they really are the origin. They give rise to the masculine, as the feminine does anyway, and they help us to go to the root cause of issues, insecurities, fears, doubts, hang-ups, in a way that the masculine archangels don't really do. So they complement each other really well. And I've been working with them for the last 15 years, although my first experience with an angel was when I was 6 years old. And she came forward as a female, this beautiful expression, who gave the name Seraphim. And later on, I discovered that she is a seraphim. She's one of the closest angels to Source. Very bright, very fiery, and a lot of light workers who are here to connect with the angels and bring forward their teachings will have guardian angels from the seraphim. Do you actually, Annette? Have you ever tuned in to where your guardian angel comes from?
I haven't actually. I, of course, tune into my guardian angels on a regular basis, although I've never quite asked them or I've never quite inquired as to what their origins are. I mean, I know the general energy of each of my guardian angels, which I have one who is more dominant in the masculine energy and one who is more dominant in the feminine energy. But no, I have never looked at the origins of them.
I would not be surprised if you have a seraphim, because I just see fire around you, like that fiery, protective, bright energy. Yeah.
Yeah, that really does resonate with me because it's been something that has been not only told to me by other people, but also through my intuition, that I've always had this sort of air of protection around me. And I'm so very grateful to have that energy surrounding me, and also the confirmation of it from you. So thank you for that.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. And I think that's why there's such a draw to angels. It gives us a sense of comfort, especially in these times that we're navigating.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I was growing up, I grew up Roman Catholic, so there was a lot of fear surrounding God and surrounding the angels and judgment and all of that. And so that's kind of like a good segue to my next question. Let's say you have somebody who is not particularly familiar with angels because that's not really how they were raised. They were not raised in a religion that even mentioned angels. And I have come across a lot of people who say, well,
Yeah.
the angels, those are a Christian Catholic things, so I don't really subscribe to the angel thing. So if you have somebody who has sort of an aversion to the word angel or archangels based on their upbringing, what would you say to somebody like that who has never really worked with the angels before, and maybe they're a little bit reticent to start working with the angels because of that?
Mm. I would say try as much as you can to unbecome those belief systems that angels are linked to religion, because yeah, they do feature, of course they do, but they're non-denominational, which means they're not assigned to and fixed to any religion. They're out with religion. It's such a man-made concept anyway. If we go to the root, that the Archaiai are always talking about going to the root, because the word means origin and root. And when we look at the word religion, the root meaning means to unite. So the reason that religion was created in the first place was to unite us with our divinity. And this is why the angels were originally came through religion, is they were a bridge. They were a bridge to help us to remember the omnipotent presence, that eternal energy that's constantly burning within us. They want us to remember that. They want us to remember who we are. Of course, humanity over the eons, we have just skewed that and made it more about control or greed or fear. You look at the Catholicism, there's so much fear, like the fear of God. So yeah, when I wrote that second book, The Female Archangels, we and I say we because the angels really wrote it from a place of no religion. So it was universal. So it could help the reader just to connect with who they are, no matter the background, no matter the culture, no matter the conditionings they have experienced, so that they can just begin to tap into that beautiful light that's within them.
Very well said. Now, how did you first get introduced to the female archangels after you had that first experience when you were 6 with Seraphim? And what did you experience, and how did you identify the energy as the female archangels?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just do a really quick synopsis. From the age of 6 to the point where I started to connect with the angels again, I had went through a lot of different experiences that had almost made me, I guess for want of a better word, fear spirituality, and I closed down my connection to the divine and to angels. And I went into science. I became a cancer research scientist, got my a medical biotechnology degree, and loved it for years because I thought I was helping people. But I took a bit of a life turn, as we always do, don't we, when we go through that path of awakening. Um, 2006, left science, began to meditate, and was met by these incredible beings of light with wings. First of all, the masculine came forward, and it was Raphael and Michael, and they presented with the names Michael and Raphael. And there was no angel teachers around. I had a couple of angel books, but nothing really to describe these beings. It was more, I just got to know them through the experience of sitting in meditation and doing healing work with them, and became a student of Raphael. And the more I connected with him, the more I started to feel this soft, nurturing, mother like energy would come through with him. And I thought, is this Mother Mary? Is this the Ascended Master Mother Mary? And it wasn't. It was a different vibration. And that was the first meeting of Archeiai Virtue, who is the other half of Archangel Raphael. Now, she's written in many books to be Mother Mary. The twin flame of Archangel Raphael is Mother Mary. But I think what's happened is a lot of these authors have maybe tuned into the surface energy, and maybe they haven't went deep enough, because Archeiai Virtue was the overlighting angel for Mother Mary when she was in physical being. And so she does have that maternal, and she can be definitely this angel, Archeiai Virtue. She can definitely be the universal mother to all of us. She helps us to parent ourselves. She helps us to be the midwife as well, to take us when we're going through big changes and periods of transition in our life. She helps us to be that midwife, to be compassionate and loving to ourselves. And yeah, when she started to come forward, I was like, who is this? Is this a goddess? Is this an ascended master? But lo and behold, it was an angel. And everything that I thought I knew about angels was challenged, because nobody was talking about female angelics. There's a brief mention of them in the Bible, but there's nothing really else written about the female angelics.
Wow.
So ever the scientist, I just sat in meditation and said, okay, Michael, do you have a twin flame? And Gabriel, do you have a twin flame? and one by one began to meet them. And then in 2009, after a good couple of years of healing with them and giving other people healing with the archangels and the Archeiai, the system Angel Healing, the certified angel therapy that I teach, was born. And this system introduces people to who the Archeiai are. And it's been taught all over the world. And so many people have came forward in it, and they've said, I always felt that Gabriel, Ariel, Cassiel were actually more feminine. Why do you think this is? And I said, well, it's because you're tuning in to the Archeiai. For Gabriel, you're tuning into hope. For Cassiel, you're tuning into Archeiai serenity. For Ariel, or Ariel, depending on how you say his name, you're tuning into Archeiai strength. And they can't believe it, but they've been doing it all along. They've been tuning into the feminine. And so I guess it's a way we're evolving what we know about angels, because there is still so much to learn and remember.
Right. When you are working with, let's say, Archangel Raphael, as you're saying, and you're feeling that more feminine energy around you, do the female archangels work with you regardless of whether or not you know that you are working with them?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, they're open to work, and they have been. This is it. Every time we have, for example, invited Michael, most people, I'm sure most listeners, will have heard of Archangel Michael or work with Michael already as this big brother, because he's a big brother to all of us, isn't he? Every time we have sat in presence with Michael, Faith, Archeiai Faith, his twin flame, has always been there. She's always been there, but there's something altogether magical when we consciously say, okay, in this session or in this meditation, I would like to just sit in the company of Archeiai Faith. And what will happen is Michael will be there, but he'll be more in the background holding the space while we have this experience with Faith. And even though Faith and Michael, like two sides of one coin, they're still the same angel.
Right.
But they have different qualities. For example, Michael is incredible, isn't he? For cutting cords, for shielding us, for making us feel more protected, for giving us a sense of clarity. But Faith, when she comes forward, she's softer, she's lighter. She says, okay, you're in fear right now, but why are you in fear? What is this fear teaching you? How can you move through this fear? Here, take my hand, I will escort you through this fear. So she's more helping us to understand it. It's more of more of the divine feminine way of working with fear, compared to Michael, coming in with his big sword, being that big brother, making us feel protected, helping us to feel protected in the moment. Whereas Faith is a bit more curious. Okay, why is this fear here? What can you learn from it? How can it be a teacher?
That is so beautiful. And as you're speaking, I'm getting the chills over
Are
here.
you looking for a new book to read? Because I know I always am. Head to Storytime in Paris on Paris Underground Radio with your host, Jennifer Garrity, as she interviews fascinating authors that have a French connection. We will be right back with The Heart of You after a word from our sponsors.
Welcome back to the Heart of You on Paris Underground Radio. Because I know whenever I've worked with Archangel Michael before to help, create a beautiful bubble of protection or whatever it is that I'm doing, they're kind of showing me right now in this moment the different times where faith was there as well. So already it seems to be opening up a whole new world of perspective when it comes to working with any of the archangels, which is incredible because that's what we're here for, right? We're here to learn new perspectives and expand our awareness of what the spiritual world is all about. And that's what I love about speaking to different people with different modalities and different ways of communicating and different gifts, because it allows you to see things you didn't see before. And it allows you to expand your ability to work with the archangels in a way that you've never been able to before.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the greatest gifts. If we can allow ourselves to be flexible and open-minded and not stay too rigid and attached to our belief systems, we open up ourselves to so much learning, and we're able to graduate from truths. We're able to evolve. I think a lot of light workers, healers and teachers become quite dogmatic and they stick to what they know. And if it's not in accordance with what they believe, then they just don't believe it because they're quite rigid. But I always, anytime I'm working with the Archeiai, with on myself or with a client or in a course or something, this teaching of remain open, remain unattached from even your belief systems, so that this experience can make an impression on you, so you can feel who the Archeiai are for you, rather than through me or through a book or somebody else. Have the experience of this, make it your own. In that way, it becomes wisdom. I think in the Piscean age, knowledge and wisdom was gained through book learning, was gained through, very much channel of intelligence, whereas in the Aquarian age, wisdom is gained through experience. Like, we have to feel it. We have to make it tangible. And certainly the female angelics are all about that. And that's why they started to come through and begin to focus their light, mainly from about 2011 onwards. They have taken their focus away from our universe ascending and supporting that huge big role, to bringing their focus down on planet and helping the light workers and the sleeping beauties who were ready to just wake up. They've been helping us to do that.
Right. Now, when it comes to them helping us when we ask them for help, for me, typically when I'm asking angels for help, I'm not usually super specific about who I'm asking unless it's something very specific. So I will say in general, thank you, my guardian angels, for helping me with X, Y, and Z. And then I connect with them through the energy. So I'm not specifically calling on one or the other or anyone in particular, but I'm connecting to the energy, because I've never actually really inquired about their names, because I've never felt the need to, since I'm connecting with them on an energetic level.
Yes.
And I wanted to just add this in as a compliment to what you're saying, that even if you don't know the names of the particular archangels that you're working with, you can feel that energy and you can get that sense of what they are there to help you to do, how they want to help you, and in which ways.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think sometimes people think, oh, if I don't know the names, then I'm not having a real connection. And that's such a bogus idea. Of course you're connecting. If you just open your heart and you want to begin to feel the love and the support of the angels in your life, that will absolutely happen. Because that's a communication between you, your truth, your higher self, and the angels. So in the Female Archangels book in the card deck, the female angelics have came forward not by name, but actually by virtue. So for example, Archeiai of Faith, if we were to call her a name, she's actually called Michaela, but she comes forward with the name Faith, Archeiai Faith or Lady Faith, to help us to understand that she stands for this virtue. She stands for what faith is, to help us to help us to realize that she's not just one singular entity, one being and you can call her off a name, She's actually the template of faith, that virtue. And just by working with her, you invite in faith into your life. And if we were to break down what faith is through an angel perspective, it's trust in action. It's living your life in trust in who you are, trust in creation, trust in source, trust in all that is. That's what faith is. So I love this. It's like it's what you said. It's a bridge from what you said. You know, it's allowing the angels to be more of a collective experience, a virtuous experience, rather than saying, you know, well, this is Michaela, or this is Michael, and this is Gabriel. And we're moving towards that in this age, aren't we? We're moving away from seeing energy as singular, and we're moving into oneness, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's part of what they're trying to teach us in a lot of ways, because I've had people ask me in the past, like, oh, can you please tell me my guardian angels' names? And there were times when I would check in with them and they would actually say, no, we don't want this person knowing our names.
Yeah.
Not yet. And that's simply because they want you to learn how it feels to connect with their energy, as opposed to associating your guardian angel with a name and then giving certain attributes to that name, thereby putting you in that brain space, which those attributes, as you're saying as well, can be really, really helpful once you've established that connection. But if you haven't had that energetic connection yet, and they want you to work with them on that energetic level first before you have that knowledge, then yeah, they're going to do that regardless. You absolutely cannot force them to tell you anything.
Yeah, definitely. It is, yeah. It's like it's attributing ego to an angel, and you know, angels don't have egos, as you know. They're neutral beings. They always have our best interest at heart, and they will never tell us what to do. They'll nudge us. They will inspire. They'll drop signs, synchronicities, symbols into our awareness, but they can never say, "Oh yes, I think you should end this relationship," or you know. That's the ego. That's the ego probably that wants that direct guidance, because sometimes it's frustrating. We want our angels and guides to tell us everything, but actually it's all in the journey, isn't it? It's not in the destination.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And there are certain things that you can do to work with them in that way. And the first thing you can do is to listen to the signs, or notice the signs that they are giving you, listen to the intuitions. But then also your body is an incredible tool to be able to listen to yourself and how you feel in your body when you're making a decision. There are times when I've asked my angels and I absolutely want to know the answer and they're not giving it to me. And basically they keep on saying to look within and to feel into your body. How does your body feel when you think about making decision A? And how does your body feel when you think about making decision B? And if you're feeling this heaviness within your body for one particular option, then you know that's not the right one for you. It's about feeling into that energy.
Yeah, definitely. There's no right or wrong way for angelic connections. So everybody will do it differently. But I think the key that we need to remember is just to ask, to remember that we have these beautiful guides, these beautiful omnipotent beings who have a vaster perspective than we do in any given moment, and they're right there on hand. They're not there to do everything for us, but the more that we can connect with them, acknowledge their presence, the more that our life just becomes so enriching. And we begin to, I always say that as we grow, we glow, we begin to look more like an angel. I've seen this time and time again with people that go through the degree levels of angel healing. Their skin becomes smoother, they begin to glow, they lighten up, whatever dramas they were still attached to begin to just fall away, and they become a lot lighter. They begin to become the embodiment of the virtues of the angels.
That's incredible. I do have a
Watch.
question about something that you mentioned before. You were talking about Archangel Michael and the fact that he and Michaela are twin flame angels. So I am a twin flame, and I'm actually going to be doing an episode on twin flames at the end of this season. So our listeners haven't heard too much about twin flames as of yet, but I did mention it briefly in the first episode of the second season, which was about soul family and soulmates. So if you can just explain to us a little bit about what you mean about the archangels being twin flames.
Yeah, definitely. So if you imagine a coin or a playing card, like a tarot card, it has two sides. And the angel is exactly the same. It has two emanations. And depending on where we are in any given moment and what our question is to that angel, we will be met by either the expression of the masculine as the archangel or the Archeiai, the feminine, or can be a unified blend of consciousness. And if you imagine the symbol, the infinity sign, you know, where it has that, it's like a figure of 8 but on its side. Right in that central dot, that intersection point, is divine unity, is the angel, the omnipotent essence of that angel. Because when you go to heaven, if you've ever journeyed up to heaven, you won't see male and female angels, you'll just see androgynous beings of light. But when they come down and they interact with humanity, and it could be they might be interacting with starseed nations, they will take a form that is representative of the being that they're working with. So when they come down and they work with us, they'll present as either male or female. And if you imagine that infinity sign, they'll either be more to one pole of the masculine or other pole of the feminine, or it can be that unified blend. Now, twin flames, in terms of angelic perspective, just mean they are the divine counterpart of the other. Archeiai Charity, who's the other half of Shamuel, so together the angel of love, adoration and devotion, Charity always talks about that the greatest love story we will ever have is the love story of our life, because she says living life is living love, because we are vessels of love. And that I always remember that and lean into that when I'm in relationships, because there has been a tendency in the past of this codependency, and I think it's not just me, obviously. I think it's a lot of other people as well. And if we can...
I think it's a majority of people. Yeah, a majority of the people have that.
I think if we can remember that we are here as incarnations of love, you know, we go from love being a state, being an embodiment of love as non-physical, then we come into this experience, we forget who we are, and then we return back to non-physical. But we can, in this lifetime, wake the heaven up. You know, we can wake up and remember that we are pure beings of love, and that everything, all the fears, all the hang-ups, all the negativity, you know, we have the power. We're such forces of creative power. We can create and we can delete and we can transform at will. So we can let go and dissolve everything that's not of love into love itself, you know, and let that be a process of divine alchemy. So I really, if anybody wants to maybe experience that a little bit more, or work through issues of codependency and bring more support into your relationships, I really invite you to connect with Archeiai Charity, because she's a force to be reckoned with. And when we were creating her illustration, it took 5 years to create all the illustrations of the angels, because they kept working on us. Me and the artist, they kept working on us at every level. But she came forward as this really buxom, beautiful angel, because she says love is bold and curvy and delicious, and it's so true, you know. And I think all women who have maybe hang-ups about their body can take reassurance from that love is bold, it's meant to be curvy, it's meant to be unique. We're all vessels of love, therefore we're all beautiful, no matter our bodies, no matter what we think about our bodies or ourselves.
Are you fascinated with all of the different terroirs, or the various different regions of France, and the cheese and the wine and all of the gastronomy that comes from each territory? If so, this is the podcast for you. It is the Terroir Podcast with Caroline Connor and Emily Monaco. Head to parisundergroundradio.com. We will be right back with the Heart of You after a word from our sponsors. Welcome back to the Heart of You on Paris Underground Radio.
And that is super helpful for pretty much anybody. No matter what gender you were born into, no matter what gender you identify as, I think that is incredibly helpful, and especially for people who identify as men and who have struggled with embracing the feminine energy within themselves.
Oh, so true. And that's the thing, that toxic masculinity that basically has been stopping men from talking about their feelings and their desires and their trauma and their wounding. Like, now is the time for voicing everything that we've kept within, kept silent, kept secret because we think it's shameful or dirty or is unwanted. Now is the time to voice that. And I think working with the angels is just one pathway of doing that. But if the listeners were to work with Archeiai Charity and maybe Archeiai Freedom, the other half of Archangel Jeremiah, they would probably go down a path where the angels would intuitively guide them to get into their body more, to dance or to join dance classes, where they're literally allowing their body to be moved and whatever trauma they're holding on to, because our bodies are a storehouse, a memory storehouse of all the trauma and the experiences that we've had. So when we allow ourselves to move, and especially to do so in the company of our angels, if we just say, okay, angels, come into this dance class with me, wherever I need to let go and resolve, whatever I'm holding on to that I can't see for whatever reason, may it move itself out of me. Let it be expressed. Let it be seen and heard. So I'm not identifying anymore with this trauma, whatever it is. And that's a really wonderful way that we can work with the angels that's not often talked about through body movement and body therapy.
That is really fascinating that you're saying this, because for a number of years, I taught a hip hop dance fitness class. And then I was also in ballet when I was younger, and then I was in cheerleading. So dance and movement have always been a really big part of my life. Now, not in any professional type way, but just it always seems to be present. I was always really drawn to some form of dancing. And as you're saying this, I'm now starting to realize that the reason for that is probably because there was a lot of energy that I really just needed to move through even before I started having my spiritual awakening. So whenever I'm doing any sort of dance or movement in that way, I immediately feel that release of energy. So not knowing that I have the option to work with freedom and charity in a particular dance session, does that mean that they're automatically there? Do you need to call them in? And how is the experience different in that body moving session? And I'm saying that simply because it could be anything. It could be cycling, it could be walking, it could be yoga, it could be dance, it can be anything.
There is certainly, put it to the test. That's what I would say to the listeners, because there will be a stark difference between doing it anyway and just being an observer of the experience and seeing what happens, compared to inviting the angels in. So I never talk about calling the angels in or invoking them, because I almost see that as like an act of summoning. And who are we to summon an angel? So instead, I kind of like to play with the word inviting. So if we invite them in to it could be going for a run even, or doing expressive yoga or movement or dancing. If we invite them in at the start of that session and we say, for example, help me to feel and release and resolve XYZ, whatever it is, whether it's conscious or a subconscious level, oh my word, will they move through us, and we will feel it. We will feel it. We'll feel the warmth. All of the Archeiai, like the angels, work with alchemical divine fires. I think the violet flame is most talked about, that Zadkiel and purity hold, but there's so many others. The orange and electric fire of freedom is a fire that awakens our navel chakra. And as those that identify as women, we hold within our navel chakra so much wounding, suppression, oppression of the feminine. If we invite these fiery, alchemical aids when we come into dance, for example. Oh my God, the experience is just going to be leveled up, and we will see and feel a change. I see it as divine alchemy. It's a process of conscious divine alchemy, working with your angels in this way. And it helps to free all those crystallized patterns and neural pathways that are within us that are encoding a belief system or encoding a habit or a habitual pattern of behavior. It helps to free them up and it helps to change them. So we no longer are identified with that which we are releasing. We become free.
I cannot wait to try this. I just think that this would be such an incredibly powerful experience. And I invite all of you out there right now, if any of you have a practice of some sort, whether it be yoga or dance or running or cycling, pick a day that you would normally do this activity and just do it like you would normally do it. And just pay attention to the feelings that you get when you are doing this activity as per usual. And then maybe the next day you invite in freedom and charity to be with you during your session of movement. And then compare the difference in energy between the day before and after you are able to work with the female archangels. And of course, everybody has their own way of working with the energies, but I do find that doing this sort of compare and contrast is the easiest way to see the difference in doing an activity without the assistance of your angels or of your archangels, and then doing an activity with that assistance. And you can definitely tell the vibration is different, the energy is different, and the experience itself is completely different.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. If we start to see the results, we believe it. The more that we believe it, the more that we will feel the angels and everything will become leveled up.
Now, this is sort of a nuanced question about the traumas that get stored in your body. One of the things that I have been working pretty heavily on for the last couple of years has been to release the energetic attachment to things in the 3D physical world that trigger that trauma within my own body. For example, I know this is super silly, but whenever I was really upset about something or I was going through some sort of trauma, I would drink copious amounts of coffee, like tons and tons and tons of coffee. So now my guides are telling me that I absolutely cannot have coffee at all now, like at all, not even decaf. They're like, nope, you cannot have that because you need to reprogram your body into not having that trauma response to that particular physical 3D coping mechanism. I need to reroute my neural pathways into not having that response. So even if I was in a really good mood and I was having no trauma whatsoever, no sadness, no anything, and I had a cup of coffee, it would actually trigger that sadness or that trauma response within my body. So would you work with the Archeiai in a similar way that we were talking about with the dancing, or is there another way that you would work with them? What would you recommend?
So there's an angel that we can work with called Archeiai Clarity, and she is the other half of Archangel Jophiel, the angel of illumination, beauty, the focus on our mental body. And when we work with Clarity, we get really aware of the patterns, our habitual consciousness. She really makes us very aware of, for example, the self-talk we're running at any given moment, where our beliefs are, what the root cause of a habit is, for example. Why, and a lot of times I think in this modern day world, people will numb their senses subconsciously because life just feels too much or overwhelming. So people will numb out, whether it's with food, whether it's with substances, whether it's with coffee even, whether it may be with Netflix, just kind of getting on a loop, on a binge loop, whatever it is.
Instagram, any social media, same thing.
Yeah. Definitely. So Archeiai Clarity, she awakens us. She awakens us to where we are numbing, distracting, diverting ourselves away from where we really should be giving love to, or manifesting, building, creating. She kind of brings us back without judgment, but her energy is like the sun. And you know, when you go out in the sun and you just take that energy, or you breathe in that sunlight through your third eye and your crown, and all of a sudden you just feel fantastic. When you invite in clarity, she brings in that energy. That's her essence, is that sunlight, that illumination. And she would be the angel to go to for helping what you were just describing, and anyone else who kind of feels like they're caught in those funks, those sort of limiting loops.
Yeah. And also, your body will give you cues, sort of, if you're not certain if that is what's happening. Your body will let you know as to how you are covering up those traumas, or if you are stuffing or
Yes.
burying emotions. And your body is definitely going to be that first line of warning, if you will, saying, hey, you're not looking at this thing right now, and this is something that you need to definitely look at. So then use your body as a guide as to what exactly you need to start addressing, and then work with Archangel Clarity, and she will give you that help.
Yeah, she helps us to make the subconscious conscious. It's like that Carl Jung quote, until we make the subconscious conscious, it will rule our life and we'll call it fate. And it, and it's
Yeah.
and it's so true. So if we can consciously, everything that's under the surface, if we can bring that to the light, whether it's working with angels, therapy, dance, psychedelics, whatever is your pathway, then we really do become free on all level of being. We become this free, intuitive being that can be in the world but not be influenced by the world.
Yeah, I love that. So who is your favorite female archangel, if you have one?
Oh gosh. Oh, right now would definitely be Archeiai Freedom. She is just incredible, and I feel that she's really helping right now, this sort of transitional period that we're in. She's helping to give us just that sense that it's okay to be a rebel, it's okay to be different, it's okay to have different views. Um, and this is really the age that we're in right now. And also, she helps with sexual and sensual liberation, which I feel a lot that's happening on the collective consciousness. People are sort of finding out how to tap into their body, how to tap into their breath, how to tap into their body movement, like we've talked about before. And I really feel this is her influence. She's helping us to do this.
And that's super important at this moment, as you said, because of everything that is going on the planet. So along those same lines, I wanted to know, who would you call on in order to help with things like duality, because of everything that is going on currently right now in the world? Because you said earlier that with Freedom, she helps you sort of break out of those restraints, those confining ideals of you must do it this way or you must do it that way. And with that sort of freedom comes a certain judgment from society, no matter which direction you are going. I mean, whenever you do something different from what you have always done, there is going to be a certain level of side eye and judgment from the people around you. So who would you work with to help balance out some of that dualistic energy and allow everybody to be able to have compassion and see all sides of what is happening in any particular situation?
Yeah. I mean, Freedom will definitely get you far when you work with her and invite her into your life. The next angel could be, if you really felt entrenched by, your family's influences, their judgments, their opinions on you or society, you could invite in Archangel Cassiel and Cassiel's twin, Archaea Serenity. Now, in angel healing, when people come to study the degrees, they either love Cassiel and Serenity, or they do not want to work with this angel, because they literally place a huge mirror in front of us and they show us, you know, when we talk about shadow work, like this is the angel to go to for shadow work, for bringing everything into wholeness. This angel helps us to transcend fear, shadow, duality. It's also the angel of the oceans, related to the dolphin realm as well. Incredible angel to work with. But yeah, it shows us where we are letting other people influence us, where we're being sort of bought and sold by society, because there is this mass hypnotism going on, isn't there? I mean, even when we talk about Netflix, for example, have you ever noticed when you finish one episode and you blink and you're on the next episode because it wants, Netflix, all of these big companies, they want to keep us in this hamster wheel of hypnotized loops. They don't want us to be living reality. They want us to be stuck on a couch, feeding our face with junk food, which is one of the industries that basically makes the most money, not living a life, not being out there, not being not creating change. They kind of, I hate to say they, like there's some sort of nefarious group out there. But of course there is the opposite. There's light and dark in everything. We can transcend that, of course we can, and we can come into a neutral perspective, an angel perspective, but we're not always there. And so sometimes we do need sort of shaken awake to be shown, okay, I am sitting in this sort of loop of negative thinking or negative behavior, or I've started to, abuse through alcohol or emotional eating, whatever it is. And Calista Serenity will help you to just face that and go to the root. Why, how is that giving you comfort, and what can you do to resolve so you can move forward?
Paris Undressed is not only just a podcast about the mysteries of French lingerie. Catherine Kemp Griffin interviews many inspirational women about body positivity and their own experiences with making themselves feel sexy and beautiful on a day-to-day basis. Head over to Paris Underground Radio, Paris Undressed.
We will be right back with the Heart of You after a word from our sponsors. Welcome back to the Heart of You on Paris Underground Radio. Yeah, the one thing I would like to add to that is when you're talking about the they, so to speak, you feed into the they are evil, they are this, they are that, they are part of the problem. That is still feeding into that duality. And as you were saying, Calista, that you can boil it down to the two very simple concepts of, are you in love or are you in fear? Because the they that we're talking about, the ones that want us sitting on the couch, wanting us eating junk food, wanting us doing all of these things and being zombies, it is not a person or an entity. It is simply fear. It is fear collectively responding within a group of humans. It's that fear of what would happen if people got up off their couch and started meditating or started appreciating nature or started fighting for the environment. And that doesn't necessarily mean you have to do anything super huge. It could be something as simple as doing meditation, being present in the moment. It could mean shifting your vibration so you are in a higher vibration. It could mean being nice to your neighbor or somebody that you come across, a stranger on the street. Simply a shift in energy to love. Helping yourself, working through your own shadows, is helping the collective with their own shadows. Every little bit counts and makes a difference toward the entire light quotient of the earth.
That's it. That's it. And I love that quote by Abraham Hicks when they say, one who's awake or one who's, I think they choose the word alignment, is more powerful than millions who aren't. And it's so true, because when we wake, I'm not going to swear on your podcast, but when we wake up, we become dangerous. We become dangerous individuals because we can't be bought and sold. We are aware. We are sovereign. We have ownership of our own body, our own thoughts, our own actions, and that is dangerous. But on the more sort of softer side, yeah, definitely. I love what you just said, Annette. We can either choose to be in fear or in love. I mean, and there's no judgment. There's definitely no judgment from our guides and angels. But it does come down to that simple truth. Are we empowering ourselves, or are we just staying the same, running the same thoughts, patterns, doing the same things over and over again? Or are we actually here as catalysts for change to bring about a brighter earth for all? I know the one that I'm picking. Yeah.
And I love that you're saying that there is no judgment in either being in fear or in love, because one thing that's really great about fear is that it's not something that you need to avoid. It is only showing you what you need to see. Like when you were talking about the archangels that people don't want to work with because they're the mirror and they're showing people the things that they don't want to see. But if you're able to face that and say, okay, cool, show it to me. I'll see what needs to be seen. And yes, sometimes looking at those things can be super scary. It can look like going through a lot of fears and a lot of shadow. But once you come out the other side, it is so magical to come out the other side and look back and realize the fears that you've overcome, the situations that you have been able to transmute, and the ability to come back into balance. So then you can go forth and always choose love.
Mm-hmm. Oh, amen, sister. Yes.
Wonderful. So I would like to ask you, Calista, how can our listeners get a hold of you? I also know that you have a couple of events coming up. So if you'd like to tell us about those.
Okay, yeah. So every month throughout 2022, I'm running a different ascension, so spiritual development workshop on Zoom. And I've got one coming up called Magic and Miracles, which is all about how to manifest from a multi-dimensional perspective, and we play in the quantum fields and we're working with the angels, especially freedom, to help us to use our full consciousness, our full awareness to bring what's important to us in our life. I'm really excited about that. And then future workshops throughout the year, we're looking at multidimensional aging. We're going to be looking at how to reverse age, how to youth instead of age, working with the angels. So can't wait for that.
That is going to be fascinating. Wow. What a topic, right?
You have to join for that one, Annette.
I absolutely will. Yeah.
And then March 19th, Unicorn Healing starts, which is a 3-month course that I run every year, working with 12 different lineages of unicorns. Really transformative course. And angel healing, if you are really interested in working with the archangels and the Archeiai, there is multiple level 1, level 2, level 3 teacher degrees in angel healing, and they run throughout the year. So if you just get in touch, you can find me on the internet under Calista Ascension, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and also calistaascension.com.
And that is CalistaAscension.com. We will also put Callista's information in all of our social media posts as well as the show notes. So if you haven't checked those out, you can click on the little information button now. So then for everybody who is wanting to order your book, which I am certainly among one of those people, and for those who want to pre-order your Oracle deck, can you please guide them as to where to go for those?
So if you head over to Amazon, Book Depository, Barnes & Noble, Waterstones, all of the good places, you'll find the Female Archangels. There was a book that was brought out about a month after mine with the same title. So if you just put in the Female Archangels Calista, you'll get the book and the deck that'll come up.
Okay, wonderful. So for the listeners out there who are in Paris, we know that sometimes it can be a challenge to get books in English, but if you would like to order Callista's book, you can most likely go to any of the English-speaking bookstores, and they will be able to order it for you.
Yes, definitely. And it will be translated into different languages from next year.
Oh, Calista, that is amazing. Well, this has been so wonderful, amazing, enlightening, and magical to be able to speak with you today about the Archeiai. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. I love the little avenues we've been to, and I really hope the listeners have got so much benefit and goodness from this show.
I can guarantee you they absolutely have. Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone who has been listening and supporting the Heart of You. And I would like you to go over to Paris Underground Radio to give them some love. Make sure you're following on all social media. So it's Paris Underground Radio, and that's on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. If you would like to get a hold of me, you can reach me at my website at infinitesoullove.com and on all social media, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, as well as YouTube at Infinite Soul Love 1111. Hey, and if you feel called, I would love it if you could rate The Heart of You on whatever streaming service you're using, whether it's Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Please take a moment, give it a review. It really does help the channel. Thanks so much.
This episode of The Heart of You was produced by Jennifer Garrity for Paris Underground Radio. For more on this show and shows like it, please visit parisundergroundradio.com.